it is decentering men really what helps women reclaim their feminine peace. So I was on a Facebook group, and then one of the questions somebody posted was like, for Christian women, how do we reclaim our feminine peace? And one woman commented by decentering men, and that was a top rated comment. And listen, I'm not going to knock. I understand. If you've been in the dating scene or you've heard the dating stories, it is rough out there. I think as Christian women, we kind of got thrown into a shark's ocean, right? But as Christians, we got to be cautious about that advice because while that is a good advice, there's other part that isn't being spoken about, which could be just as damaging as the first. So real quick, if you're new here, I'm Valerie. I'm one of the owners of Tiana Bay. My sister and I own a Christian clothing brand that makes feminine dresses from natural fabrics to reclaim your femininity. I'll talk more about our brand later, but I wanted to introduce you to our channel where we talk about wholesome feminine content from a God or biblical perspective. Our job is to just talk about feminine stuff and elevate Jesus. So if that's what you're into, definitely like, subscribe, and sign up for more videos like this. So let's get back into the video. So I kind of wanted to talk about what decentering is. And if you haven't heard it, because if you're not chronically online, bless you, first of all, but decentering men, which the definition I took from the Cosmos, not Cosmos as in the stars, but Cosmopolitan. I had to do it. Decentering men means shifting your life so men are not the main reference point for your choices, self-worth, or goals. It does not necessarily mean hating men or never dating them. It just means putting yourself, your values, your own life first. So in theory, this looks like making decisions based on what you want versus what's attractive to another spouse or man, valuing friendship, family, work, and hobbies as priorities, noticing and unlearning habits that seeking male approval. Ultimately, your life stays full and meaningful whether your man is in it or not. So this concept originated from a book by, I want to say, Sharice Taylor in 2019, and it pretty much took the internet by storm. Decentering makes sense especially in this climate, right? Decentering makes sense, especially in this climate, especially because women, especially after having a heartache, going through rough patches of dating, it feels refreshing. It feels kind of like what I'm missing. As a Christian woman in particular, this kind of feels like biblical advice. Why put all our eggs in one basket, especially when you see the men you're dealing with? But here's where the secular version falls apart. When I was reading Decentering Men, and I think this is the reason why this concept makes a lot of sense and why we have influencers or TikTok creators who build audiences based off of this concept, deprioritizing men and marriage and elevating self-identity, self-worth, healthy attitudes and attributes. But here's where this idea falls apart. Because when you take an idol out, you have to replace it with something else. As I was preparing for this video, a thought kept coming to mind, and it was the parable of the unclean spirits. And this parable is found in Matthew 12:43 through 45. In this parable, Jesus casts out a demon, and the Pharisees are calling him pretty much a demon because he's casting demons. He then kind of sets the Pharisees straight, but in this chapter, we find this story. When the unclean spirit has gone out of a person, it passes through waterless places seeking rest. But it finds none. Then it says, I will return to my house from where I came from. And when it comes, it finds the house empty, swept, and put in order. Then it goes, brings with it 7 other spirits, more evil than itself, and they enter and dwell there. And the last state of that person is worse than the first. So it will be in this evil generation. The image that kept coming to mind was when you remove an idol and you don't replace that idol with something greater, what ends up happening is the swap becomes worse than the idol you taken out. And this is the difference. This is kind of why this decentering men doesn't quite hold up. If we take men out and put career, self-worth, freedom, what have you, in its place, those then become idols worse off than the men. And what happens is the man idol doesn't leave. It just gets quiet and pushed down. Why are they the idol? I believe that every woman desires to be loved, chosen, and just feel like they're worth dying for. I feel like those are healthy desires. They were placed there for a reason. And rather than us kind of knowing that these are healthy, knowing that they're there, we kind of start drifting and finding other ways to fill it. And we bring these desires to men to fill broken men, some men who should not even be in the field, and they break it and they hurt. I hear these princess stories, and then I just feel like every woman just wants to be a princess to some degree. We'll refute it at face value, but deep down, that's what we really want. We want somebody to say, like, I'm choosing you, I love you, I desire for you. And if we can't find it in X, we go through it in other ways, knowing that it's still there. And I think this is what hurts the most, because Proverbs spoke about this, not Proverbs 31, Proverbs 30:21 through 23. And it says, under 3 things the earth trembles, under 4 it cannot bear weight. So it's kind of setting up the stage. These responsibilities given is when you give something to someone that at a time they're not ready for it. Under 3 things the earth trembles, under 4 it cannot bear up. A slave when he becomes king, a fool when he's filled with food, an unloved woman when she gets a husband, and a maidservant when she displaces her mistress. So I know what you're saying. You're like, why are we here talking about your husband and decentered men? Well, here's the reason why. I shared this verse because when I read this, it floored me, because I think what we're suffering with is the fight of being loved. Are we worth loving? Are we desirable? Are we worthy to die for? Because what those Disney princesses put in our heart, whether we like to admit it or not, is that we crave love, and that there's a prince out there who will go to the pool of battle with us for our love and choose us over and over and over again. And when we show up in real life and we are reminded by the men in our lives that we are not loved because they look at us, see us, and then reject us, that hurts deeply. Told at that moment, this is why you are not worthy of love. And I want to be first to tell you that you are worthy of love, that you are loved by God. The Bible tells us, for the joy set before him, Christ, he endured the cross. I believe that that joy is us. Jesus knew when he would go to the cross, he set his eyes knowing that in our sin, we would not be good enough. And so he laid down his life for us. While we were still sinners, he loved us. He demonstrated that, because Christ is the perfect man. Nobody else can love us more like Jesus. And so deep down, when we struggle with this idea of, am I lovable? The real answer is, what does Jesus say? What does the gospel say? Because this is not, decentering men is good in theory, but the issue we have with really fulfilling it comes back to a sin issue. Men are not our idols, because that's where Jesus is. Like the story, the parable of the unclean spirits, you need a greater spirit that can permeate every aspect. And unlike careers, success, money, Instagram famous, whatever influence, whatever you're chasing, Jesus is the only one that can permeate and touch every aspect of your lives. The part that you show up and show the world, and the part that you keep hidden because you're afraid of what people would say if they knew who you really are. And that is why Jesus is the only way you could fully decenter men. This is why the whole concept falls on its face, because in order for you to pull the idol, for you to switch idols, you need something greater and stronger. You need Jesus. You need his spirit permeating every aspect of your house, shining light on every area. Once you know he loves you, once you are basking in his love, you move different, you operate differently. What should Christian women do, especially in this world of decentering men? How do we approach this, especially if I'm single, what have you? I think first, if you're single and you want to get married, or maybe you're not. So for this single, I guess the best way is, if you're single and you're in this situation, what do? I would give you 3 advice. 1, be honest with God. I feel like a lot of times I'll see people talk about marriage and they will remove the idea or go into this anti-marriage rhetoric, think about patriarchy and all of these nonsense, how we're obsessed. Okay, cut it. I know for me, this is my coping mechanism. When I want something from the Lord, I will throw every single thing, every other way of being like, I will like sanctify my prayers and make it seem like I'm like, oh, yeah, Lord, if you could, but I'm all good. And, I know stop. Like God is looking at me like, I see your heart. I see you've been fixating on this for 24 hours a day. Why are you sitting here telling me you don't? Like, be honest with the Lord. Get into your prayer. When you're praying with God, be honest. Tell him you want marriage. Tell him you are frustrated that it's taking you this long. Be real and raw and let your every emotion out, even the emotion you want to get bottled in, even if you're upset with him for delaying it, for putting the desires. This is what I did when I was single. I was mad, I'd fast, I'd pray, and then crickets. In fact, the guy I actually was interested in just like voop, vanished. Now I was mad and upset and all the things. I was like, am I misinterpreting? And coming before God and being honest and raw and letting him change you from the inside out is going to be the most impactful thing you do. The second thing comes right after that. Asking the Lord to help you to deal with your desires. Sometimes we tell Christian women to be like, we tell Christian women to be like, oh, you're blessed if you're single. You are so much more occupied. And then there comes these lonely nights when you're like, man, I really wish I had some of these. I really wish I had some very thick, holy arms around me right now. And you're like, oh, well, like, no, ask the Lord to help you because it's going to be hard, especially when you have friends who aren't Christian hooking up and getting farther ahead than you. And you feel like, what was the point? Ask the Lord to sustain you and to help you, because I guarantee you, if you ask and you lean on him, you'll be surprised how much more you can do in his strength through you, not in your strength. And the third one, allow the Lord to change you. And when he changes you, as he changes you, you will be surprised how differently you respond. So you're going to start operating from love, from the Lord's love, than your own strength. So when you start talking about how you're able to walk the walk, you're able to maintain your spirituality, you're able to flow, you will find that this is coming from God's love through you. And honestly, this advice is what helped me in my marriage. Now I'm looking back from the other end. Being able to be fully committed to the Lord, being able to be raw and intentional, and allowing him to help me has led me in this season in my life as a married woman to be able to say, man, I'm making this as an idol again, Lord. Help me because there's something that I'm pushing. Because when when something is an idol, that's because we have swapped it out and we have taken God out of that place and put that thing there. There's something in there that is feeding us. And rather than us dealing with that and bringing it before the Lord, we are leaning into a fake, faulty idol that will disappoint us. And you come from a spirit of love, you won't be bitter. You won't be hypocritical. You won't be sarcastic or angry, but you'll be at peace. Not because everything's working out, but because God is working with you through this situation. I think decentering men works as long as Jesus is what is in the center of this. You swap men out and you put Jesus in. And if you need any more proof, get back into John, read John and fall in love with Jesus and literally walk as close as you can, because this world's rough. There's a lot of stuff happening left, right, and center, and we need the Spirit. So we need the Lord's Spirit to guide us. Decentering men will not protect your peace as a feminine woman, as a Christian feminine woman. Jesus will. So if you enjoy this, you love content like this, I would encourage you to join our newsletter. So we have two things that's happening. So we have if you look in the description box, there's two things going on. One is our Christian Feminine Blueprint. This is a free ebook in which we talk about femininity from a biblical standpoint. We talk about how to embrace who you are in Christ and embrace your femininity, your womanhood, becoming a godly woman through the four pillars. Identity, we talk about habits, we talk about lifestyle, like environmental and style. These are the four things you need to do that we think will help you embrace your feminine as a godly woman. Second is our newsletter. So we are a Christian feminine clothing brand. So we make and sell feminine dresses from natural fabrics. We do this because we want to embrace your God-given femininity. We make dresses so that it makes you feel classy and feminine and modest and all the things. And we use natural fabrics. It's like Christian sisters making dresses for our Christian girls. We sell strictly through pre-order. So if you go on our website, you won't see it online. So if you're interested in that, join the newsletter. You sign up to our newsletter. It's called the Feminine Dress Society. So sign up today and you will be added to our list and you'll get to know the next dresses we're working on. And trust me, we're so excited. But that's all I've got for you. I hope to see you again. And make sure you're on our list if not. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.